So today I was having this thought process about like how we talk to ourselves or what we allow ourselves to think and what that means about us and all this stuff. And basically it came from yesterday. I had this really, really good sparring session with a kid at the gym who I don't really know. He's been there for a little while, but I don't know anything about him. So I haven't created this like profile or biography about him to tell myself how good he is compared to me or like how I should do against him or any of these things. And we've never worked together. So he's just a kid at the gym. And he's bigger than me. He's maybe like 51, 52, 53 kilos, something like that. So yesterday, Pinu's like, Sylvie, you and this kid are sparring. So we get in the ring and we start sparring, and he's bigger than me. So, you know, I start out with some, you know, like good stiff strikes, and immediately I have this like realization that's like, oh, this is gonna work. Like, I'm more skilled than you. I can do what I want to do against you. I'm better than you. And I never think these things, ever. And I did so well in sparring because I was thinking these things. And so I was able to work on timing and countering and all these different things instead of being this stress ball about, you know, how hard it was to spar him or why I can't get my damn kick to work or whatever, which is what I have as my internal dialogue against all the boys who I do know, who I've spent 2 years clinching and sparring with. So with the boys who I do know, who I've built all of these like biographies around, how I did against them the last time we sparred, which totally could have been like 2 months ago, will come into play in how I'm sparring them today, in the story I tell myself about how I should do against them. So the freedom I had with this kid by not knowing anything about him, and then this like momentary surge of confidence where I was like, oh, I'm better than you, allowed me to have this really free, really great sparring session. And he actually got really frustrated. And I don't think he would call it a super great sparring session for himself. But so today, I come in and I'm asking Pinu about him a little bit, and it turns out he's got like over 100 fights. He's never fought in Bangkok, but he just took like 2 years off, so he's coming back. But he's got all this experience. Like, none of these things I knew about him yesterday. And if I had been told about them and was sparring him for the first time today, all of that would be in his biography that I created for him, and I would not have the freedom to experiment and spar and think these things given that information that I had been given. So it's kind of this like, oh my god, he's actually much better than I thought, which should then translate to I'm much better than I thought because I did so well against him. So all of that is to say that I have never given myself permission, really, to think the thought, I'm better than you, when sparring with someone or going against someone. I don't even think this when I'm, like, fighting people, which is totally the time you should be thinking that. And that kind of confidence and self-belief and self-thinking allows you freedom to work on things where you're like, this kick is gonna fucking land on you because you're like, I'm better than you, I am going to land this kick. And I think that it's partially the way that I was raised, maybe not in a conscious way. I don't think my parents were like, you're not allowed to think good things about yourself or anything like that. My parents are awesome. But I think that I'm afraid of those kinds of thoughts because they're immodest. And of the 4 kids in my family, there's actually only one of us who talks about himself and thinks about himself in a very openly positive way. And I remember as a kid at the dinner table when he'd be talking about how awesome he was during recess soccer or whatever, I'd just be amazed at how he could think so positively and speak so positively about himself. And I'd kind of be like looking at my parents like, is anyone going to shut this shit down or what? And so I'm not saying that there's something wrong with that. I'm actually saying there's something wrong with not giving yourself permission to think those kinds of positive things about yourself. Because one, unless you think so positively about yourself that you're like, I'm good, I don't have to do anything, and then you close down your growth mindset, that's a problem if you think I'm already perfect. But if you think things like, I'm better than you, I can do what I want to do against you, I'm more skilled than you, I have more experience than you, any of these things, those are positive, and they're just thoughts. Like, you don't have to be a jerk by thinking those things. It doesn't make you a jerk, and it actually gave me one of the best sparring sessions I've ever had. So the lesson to me was be careful what you think, because your thoughts can hinder you, which my thoughts very often do, but they can also super benefit you, which they did yesterday. So be conscious of what you're thinking and choose better things to think. And it's in there, buddy. It's no one else's business. You think what you gotta think, man. It's good.